Welcome back to Digging Deeper with the Missourian. I'm Dakota Oswalt, and this is News in a Minute. Let's get into this week's stories. Maryville Parks and Recreation has hired its next director, Maggie Rockwood, who has worked at NPR since 2019. The decision to hire a new director was made following the retirement of previous director Jeff Stubblefield. Rockwood said there are many plans she will manage for NPR's master plan, and she looks forward to the future. It's a little bit daunting with how much work we have to put in, but I'm excited to continue on the path of updating and getting done what we need to, and continuing to move forward to looking at potentially a new aquatic center and how we can keep up with our building here at the community center, Rockwood said. Next, at its meeting March 10th, Student Senate allocated nearly $3,000 to two fraternities, leaving the organizational finance budget with less than $200. Tau Kappa Epsilon Delta Nu chapter was allocated $1,500 for its regional leadership conference in Chicago that it had attended over spring break. Tau Kappa Epsilon Delta Nu chapter member Caden Schmitz said the trip ended up costing more money than it was budgeted. Alpha Kappa Lambda Alpha Zeta chapter was also allocated $1,300 for its annual Autism Awareness Barbecue March 28th. The fraternity originally requested $1,080, however, there was some miscommunication with the totals. After discussing the outcome, Senate decided to allocate the larger amount. Finally, through its internship with Northwest Center of Policy and Civic Engagement, political science major Kent Onishi hosted his own ballot initiative educational event. Onishi hosted the ballot initiative talk March 10th to allow attendees to learn more about the process. Associate Professor of Political Science Jessica Gracie and Respect Mo Voters St. Joseph Field Director Nancy Zeliff spoke alongside Onishi. I know how fun political science is, and I sometimes am frustrated by not so many people are interested in politics, Onishi said. By hosting this informal kind of event, I really hope everyone will find it actually fun and exciting and a really interesting field to learn about. Now let's look at where the news has taken reporter Micah Stoley this week.
While many students dreaded being dragged back to campus, these drag kings and queens decided to take a unique spin on the common phrase. I'm Micah Stoley with Digging Deeper, and I'm here at the Student Union, where the first drag show in over 10 years is being performed. Prism hosted a drag show, Dragged Back to Campus, at the J.W. Jones Student Union March 11th. The show featured 4 drag kings and queens with a variety of different personas, ranging from a clown to a southern disco performer. Connor Tudine, vice president of Prism and event organizer, said more drag shows are coming in the future.
I know that a lot of people have heard of us and are going to be here, and so we gotta really sell it to keep these going, because I know we definitely want it to be annual. We all kind of came up with a drag show because I remember going to my first drag show and it was wonderful. So I was like, why don't we bring this back to campus?
Prism is a student-run club on campus set on building a community of LGBTQ+ members and allies of the community, as well as the greater student body. Dragged Back to Campus is the first ever drag show hosted by the club. All performers were Northwest students. Tyla Knoll is a drag king who portrayed a female version of the Big Bang Theory character Sheldon Cooper. Disco Belle is a southern queen described as a lover of parties. Third performer was Skeeter the Clown, who was described as a lover of chaos. The final performer was Whiskey Midnight, portrayed by the Prism president Ray Leith, who described himself as a playful party kind of guy. Leith said a drag performer's character can reflect deeper emotions.
It really depends on who they kind of embody, because for a lot of drag performers, they kind of look to see what do they see in the opposite sex, and then kind of you build your personality. Some people do the opposite of themselves. Some just choose kind of like a character they like. It's all just about creativity, and you kind of find your way with how you want to go about it.
Houdin said the show featured 15 songs split between the 4 performers, along with a lip sync battle. The show utilized its audience by allowing them to vote on what songs the performers would lip sync to and who the top 3 performers were. Lee said he hopes the event brings clarification to the community about what drag is.
Brings the tradition back of drag shows, especially the United States is very polarized about drag shows right now, and that's very frustrating as someone who is trans and enjoys performing in drag. So I would love to kind of give some clarity to people, as well as like introduce the idea of like having drag as a normal thing, and maybe get people to learn something about drag as well.
Well, I'd hate to be a drag, but this show has come to an end. I'm Micah Stoley with Digging Deeper, and I want to thank you for joining me. Now, back to the studio.
Welcome back to the interview portion of Digging Deeper. In this segment, I'll be getting the inside scoop from the reporter of the top story each week. For this week's interview, I'll be talking to news editor Anna Bailey about the annual spring concert. Welcome, Anna. To get us started, can you explain what the spring concert is?
So the spring concert is an annual event that is put on by the Student Activities Council, and it is essentially just a concert in the springtime where an individual is brought in to perform for students.
So this year it was canceled. Could you explain why it was canceled?
So the reporter for the story was not me, it was Ryan King, and he found after talking to some different people that the Missouri budget was decreased for higher education by about $2 billion, and so Northwest lost about $600,000 in funding, and so the departments within campus did have to kind of reallocate and decide where those cuts were going to make effects. And so the Student Activities Council and the Office of Student Involvement did end up deciding that the concert had to be canceled.
Was this a challenging decision for those who were involved in the decision making?
So Faith Thompson, the director of student involvement, she kind of spoke about how they had to decide if they wanted to keep the concert and cancel a multitude of events or cancel just the concert. And in the end, herself and the Student Activities Council decided that it would be a better idea to cancel one event, even though it is one that people look forward to.
How do you think students are going to react to this news?
I could see some students being disappointed, of course. I know that sometimes people see a change and they just think it's negative, but I think it's important in this case to look at the whole overall picture and recognize that maybe one event was canceled, but there's multitudes of other events that are going on. But of course, I think there will be some disappointment.
Is there a chance that the concert will return in the future?
So Faith talked about how they don't know right now. It really does just depend on what the funding will look like next year or in future years. Of course, they hope that they can bring it back, but as of now, it is not known.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. For more stories like this, make sure to check out nwmissourinews.com or pick up a paper from one of the stands around campus. I'm Hannah Claywell, and thank you for watching. See you next week.